Today is still Tuesday, 31st of January 2017. It is 2054 hours Central European Time. This video is about a little advice a little while back, not all that long. I advised the Abwehrant to see to it that they have to record and document all of their past deeds, and even though a whole lot of such records were deliberately destroyed by them, I advised them to try to, best as they could, reconstruct them, because no matter what happens, someone will ask those from them. Down the same lines, though with a slightly different kind of background to it, nonetheless down the very same lines and basically asking for the same thing, I advise everybody on North America to document my various ghostwriting credits and also my ghost editing credits. Especially, well, maybe not especially, but first and foremost when it comes to television writing, not even specific movie writing. I am pretty sure that they drag me to that. I don't care about individual movies unless they're part of a larger franchise. But television writing, but also really comic book writing, namely Marvel and DC. Now, I know for a fact that Tom DeFalco was a BitchQueen tool from DC put in power at Marvel to destroy Marvel Comics, and he succeeded. He single-handedly, so to speak, sank Marvel Comics. The interesting thing is, I am pretty sure that I have writing credits, maybe even editing credits, at Marvel before DeFalco stepped. I was very young then. This was still when Shooter was running things, at least more or less. So I would want you to look into those days, and the reason I make this so specifically clear is because I guarantee you, before the BitchQueens conquered Marvel, and before the era of DeFalco as editor-in-chief, the Marvel fuckers who had their ghostwriters and whatnot did document the ideaing of those. Chances are the BitchQueens thought, there's no need for that, you know, but I assure you the people, before Marvel was conquered by the BitchQueens, Marvel fellows who ran such things did document their doing. Matter of fact, that might have been common practice at that time, even over at DC. There's a couple of people in particular who have a couple of public face writers. You know, those who are mentioned in the credits, when in truth all kinds of other people have really written what these stories represent. And interestingly enough, it's very often pairs of writers. Marv Wolfman and Lan Wein, or Wine, I'm not sure how his name is pronounced, are such a coupling. They actually, I remember they actually had a little, I think this was a one-pager in-joke. Len, Marv is looking for you, Marv, Len is looking for you, and so on, and then in probably the convention special of Lobo or somewhere down there. This was still when the BitchQueen Con still was at DC, if I get my chronology right. So look into anything in particular that those two wrote to see who has the real writing credits. And another interesting pairing is Andy Lanning and Dan Abnett, or Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning as they're usually mentioned. There's two righteous pieces of shit, I assure you. The interesting thing is, in case of the BitchQueens having done away with actually giving a rat's ass of the identity of the ghostwriters, the fascinating thing is, unbeknownst to them, some of us might have been reused and dragged along with particular writers who had used us in the past as their ghostwriters, and the Abnett Lanning is such a thing. There was stuff at DC way later that we're talking middle, second half of the 90s here. There's stuff at Games Workshop that these fellows wrote, The interesting thing is there's stuff about the Marvel UK. Now you may know that I did claim Marvel, I claimed all things DC, and specifically Marvel UK, and there's good reason for why I did that, I assure you. So basically, I hereby advise all people in North America to look into my writing and editing credits. When we're touching on the topic of editing, I've explained in the past how I am the editor with a capital E. There is only one such that goes all the way back to the MFSF, Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction program that they used to have there. There has never been an editor since me with the virtual status, the editor. Okay? I want to make this very clear. There has never been such. Keeping me isolated here does not enable you to decree and declare anybody else that. You can go, you probably did try and go ahead and just declare what fucker ever as the editor, and you will see that it doesn't work, because it doesn't work like that. I am the editor, okay? I have been the editor for a whole long time, and I won't cease being the editor until I cease to exist, and I mean pulse breathing in real life, not shit in virtuality. Little reminder of that. Why should the people of North America bother doing this? The interesting thing is, with some franchises such as Star Trek, namely, in particular, I'm not going to fetch it, but the Star Trek Enterprise thing, second season around, I mean already in the first season, but really the entire second season is they canceled whatever they had intended and completely had to go a different direction and partially dragged us along. We were responsible for the first season to a certain extent. Even there we did not have liberty and were subject to utter idiots deciding things. You know, there's people like Brennan Braga, for instance, who are the public figures who allegedly are managing things when these people have no fucking idea of anything. They don't manage shit. They don't know anything about it, right? There's a couple of Paul Levitts at DC. That same category. Utter idiots. And I really mean people of severely low intellect, or at the very least, I mean, with Brennan Braga, he really is not very smart. With Levitts, it might be that they have virtually brought him down, you know, IQ and sanity settings, IQ settings in particular, because I mean, some of the stuff I've seen him say in interviews is just unbelievably beyondish, you know. Talking of beyondish, do me a favor and look into I Am From Beyond at Marvel, the Beyonder. Look into that. I'm just curious on a personal level who's responsible for the writing of that, because I ain't, I assure you that. I find it very interesting though. And I can tell you, whoever wrote that, in truth, has been in the game for a while afterwards. While you're doing that, please identify any other such ghostwriters, and know ye that I will be able to tell if you're making shit up, which means that I will be able to verify if those people really were responsible for the writing or not. So if you say this was ghostwritten by 3 people, you know, say me, I mean, especially if I also was involved, but even in cases where I'm not involved, I will be able to tell if those were really involved or not. The reason why I mention this is because, to touch back on the Star Trek Enterprise, I'm pretty sure that the BitchQueens and their uselessness not just didn't give a rat's ass about who they dragged into it, but actually, moreover, allowed whoever was responsible for dragging people into it as ghostwriters, allowed them to lie on their own share of contribution. Which really means, if you think, say, you know, it's been a few, I'm not sure, weeks now probably, since I first mentioned Star Trek Enterprise and how I was involved in the writing of it. If since then you have gone and researched into it and got, say, some sheet of paper whereon it said this and these and these and these people were involved in doing this and this and this, that might be shit. Insofar as that the people who were responsible for dragging us in downplayed our contributions and made their own non-existent contributions larger than they actually were. I want to point this out. But I also want to point out that back in the day, certainly at Marvel before the BitchQueens sank it, no such things were done, in the sense that credits were identified where credit was due, so to speak. Chances are these records have been destroyed since then. I wouldn't be amazed what with the BitchQueens EDC. Still, dear North American people, please look into my writing credits. Also things down the lines of video games, for completeness sake. To give you one specific example, I think I mentioned in one of the videos, Sony's The Last of Us. Look into that, please. Just generally see to it that you research all things Star Trek. I mean, not the original series, that's a little far away, but starting with Next Generation, that you research who actually wrote this shit in reality, okay? See what all I contributed. See what I contributed to Marvel and DC. See wherever some of these writers might have dragged me elsewhere, such as Abnett Lanning, Warhammer 40K, okay? You might want to give it a few, some staff that project of researching my writing and editing credits. Don't leave out the editing credits. See, the problem is, knowing for a fact how the BitchQueens at DC probably were so stupid to not even document the ghostwriting credits, I could imagine that in all their idiocy they didn't even document the editing credits, which is a pity. Then again, they, unlike Marvel, prior to the BitchQueen conquering, maybe didn't even use ghost editing, because they're stupid BitchQueens, okay? But look into that. So specifically, all my work for Marvel, all my work for DC, all my work for whatever else you stumble across, especially television writing, very important. I don't care about individual movies, so if you stumble across them, put it on that list. And I'm not perfectly sure to what extent you in North America might be able to look into that, but I assure you that I was horrendously dragged into Roden, Perry Roden, which is a horrible German science fiction saga. I know for a fact that some of those idiots are also the same. That's bitchqueenery, and hence we're talking bitchqueenery in America, of course. So the interesting thing is, chronologically, see, at some point the ID must have been written down somewhere because I was forwarded to others, so to speak. I was recommended to others for other projects of ghostwriting and so on and so forth. And you might be able to actually do together a little chronology of that. The interesting thing about that is that some such data might have been overseen, or overlooked, sorry, not overseen, to be destroyed, which means that as much as they discredited me on, on any level, such banalities as my writing credits, ghost writing credits, and ghost editing credits might have been not considered important enough to be deleted. And the interesting thing is, by seeing how far back and how prestigious my involvement in what things, huge things like Star Trek, I was one of just a handful, and when I say handful, I mean 2 or 3. I've watched seasons 1 and 2, complete seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek Enterprise now, and the second season is utter bitchqueenery. The first season, not quite. The interesting thing in the first season is that some of that was done in a third-rate role-playing style. I've said that in the past, with a fourth-rate game master, I do want to point that out. And fifth-rate editing, where it wasn't done by me and or any other people involved in that. And one other thing I want to point out is, and in the first season, screen went black again, screensaver, sorry. In the first season, there were some episodes which were you had an NPC. Some of the characters are treated by different people. Some of them were utilized in an NPC fashion that the games master made use of them. In other cases, I can verify that I was several characters in the episodes, not just Malcolm Reed. There was even some episodes where I was not allowed to be Malcolm Reed for whatever reason. Be that as it may. Reed, Tripp, and the Vulcan lady. Those three in particular, and every now and then even the captain. I'm not sure if he had a system there. I wondered briefly if I should actually, write down my findings to every single episode and what that all spelled out. But then I figured, well, there's enough American people who can research that, So you do that, please. But understand that there was just a handful of people, 2, 3, thereabouts, not more, 2, 3 people involved in that first season of Star Trek Enterprise when it comes to those who really wrote that shit and partially edited it and partially game mastered it when it wasn't the useless game master that BitchQueens supplied. And what I want you to understand is that I am the only one of those left standing. Everybody else is dead. I want to make that very clear. You will find that I am quite the dinosaur. Also when it comes to the contributions to DC and Marvel over the decades, I'm quite the dinosaur when it comes to the ghost writing and so on and so forth. And there you will see how far back I go. And when you look at all the other IDs and find out who they are, you will find out, oh wait, that person's dead, that person's dead, that person's dead, that person's dead, that person's dead. I'm the only one around. And by my being a dinosaur, you will be able to see what status I enjoyed back in those days, even in light of the ultra ignorance of the BitchQueens. Okay? I am interested in that on a personal level, that's why I ask you that, but there is a side effect to that, namely the chronology, namely going to show to what extent I was utilized and why that is so. Going to show the editor thing, going to show a couple of other things, okay? So you are advised to research that and apply a bit of torture to the useless pieces of shit that BitchQueens placed in charge of managing shit like, say, Star Trek Enterprise, even if it's BitchQueens themselves, because I know that at a certain point, if you are a really thick and stupid BitchQueen, you probably don't even understand how you downplay the actual contributors' contributions and overpaint your own contribution. Because you think, oh, you're the BitchQueen, you're managing it all when you ain't doing shit, right? I understand that some of the torture is not coming from myself that much, because, they're just stupid. They say, no, it was all my doing, when it was not. It was our doing. I want to point that out. Research my contributions as ghostwriter and ghost editor, okay? You do that. Look at the chronology. Go all the way back. Look at that. I've given you Wolfman and Ween. I've given you Abnett and Lanning. I am absolutely sure that there's quite a few other names, or often you will find me associated with them. Okay? So once you detect 2, 3 cases of me being associated to the same public name, see what else they wrote under that public name, and see if they or I show up in the credits. Okay? Do that, please. I can tell you for sure that I will ask you for that one day. Whoever of you survives, I can assure you the same that I assure to the other out. Quintessentially, that is part of the information that some people will torture out of you, either people who then will have to go into torturing with me, or me torturing it out from you indirectly. So you will find it very handy to have that information printed to just give to people who will ask you for that. And once more, please refrain from writing shit into that research documentation, because I can't tell shit for shit if I see it. I assure you that much. Thank you.